Hi everyone, this is Doug Eicherman from slingingthebull.com, and today I would like to show you how to use the Quick Selection tool in Photoshop CS5. The Quick Selection tool is one of several tools provided by Photoshop for selecting objects in photographs or images, and it's located in the toolbox on the left side of your screen in Photoshop. It's the fourth icon down. If you left click and hold, you'll get the little submenu which has the Quick Selection tool and the Magic Wand tool available. Let's go ahead and left click on the Quick Selection tool and pull it out, and you'll see that the cursor is a circle with a plus sign in the middle. And when you have that activated, that's the activated cursor. When you have that activated, in the options bar above, you have the special options for that specific tool in Photoshop. The first of these three buttons on the left is the New Selection button, and when you go down to your object and begin to make your selection, that automatically shifts to the Add to Selection button. And you also have a Subtract from Selection button. Those two buttons, the Add to has a plus sign on it, and the Subtract Selection or Subtract from Selection button has a minus sign on it. And you'll see that on your cursor, I've pulled it out over the image, that it has a minus sign when the Subtract from Selection button is clicked, is selected. The next thing is a little menu with the characteristics of your brush. The brush size I'm using right now is a 35 pixel just to start with. We'll reduce that later for another portion of it. Then the hardness at 100%, the spacing at 1%, and those I have for this particular tool. That's what I always do, is 100% hardness and a 1% or all the way to the left on the spacing. These other settings are default settings that we will deal with in other videos. We don't need to bother with them now. The Sample All Layers checkbox we're going to leave unchecked for the moment, and we're not going to talk about it. The Auto Enhance is another feature that we'll deal with in a different video. And the Refine Edge box here is not available. We're not in the right part of, or not in the right step here to use the Refine Edge box, but it gives us options that we'll talk about also in another video. For the moment, we'll begin with a new selection and a brush size of 35 with a hardness of 100, and start to drag our brush around the object, and you'll see that it very quickly identifies the colors and shades that we want to include in our selection, and makes a pretty nice initial selection here, although at the bottom you can see that there's a portion of the flower that has been not selected, or Photoshop has selected a little bit too much there. So let's zoom in with a controller command plus and take a look at that a little more closely. See, our brush size is too big. With a left bracket key we can bring that down. Let's take that down to a 5 or a 4 or something like that. Let's go to a 4. And the plus sign adds to our selection. So if we click out here and try to push this back in, we'll end up adding more to our selection, which is not what we want to do. That's what we have the Subtract from Selection button for, is to change the nature of our cursor so that we can subtract from the selection this way. So it found its way to a little bridge of white there that looks like it might be part of the flower. So just in case, we'll let up on our left button on the mouse and go into this other little space, and we still have our Subtract from selection. This is the bigger selection, so we're still subtracting from that selection. So if we click in this little spot, it'll find this portion that we're trying to subtract from our selection. And we got a little bit of the white there, so we can go back up and get our Add to selection, and maybe increase the size of the brush just slightly to do a little refining of that. But when we pull it back out, zoom back out, I think you'll see that it really isn't going to matter. That's pretty good for this demonstration. And then let's go back out again, see what we've selected. If we go to get the Move tool, come over, you can see we've made a good selection, at least initially. We can refine it more with some of these other options up above, but not for this particular demonstration. The better way to use this, though, is to to do to copy this on its own layer. And you can do that a couple of ways. One way is to do a Control-J to get your new layer over in the Layers panel. Another way is to do an Edit Copy, Edit Paste, and that will give you, as you can see, a new layer in the Layers panel. And I'll double click on the layer 1 and rename this flower. You can name it anything you like, and as you can see, when we turn off the background layer, that we have our selection on its own layer in Photoshop, and you can move it around and position it as you want. You'll see that there is some problem on the edges of the flower. There's some blue that was picked up from the background, and a little bit of black or darker color shades here that were picked up from the background. We will learn in a subsequent video how to deal with the edges here, but for the moment this is a demonstration of how to use the quick selection tool, and I think we've accomplished that. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have. Thank you, and have a good day.